So you're thinking about moving to Atlanta, but you want to know, is the market going to crash? I mean, wouldn't we all love to know? And I'm going to give you my opinion in this video. So if you're curious about the real estate market, the stock market, though, any kind of market, whether or not we're in a bubble or it's going to crash or anything like that, well, then you're going to want to stick around and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, working, playing, the good and the bad of living in Atlanta, Georgia, well, then subscribe below and ring that bell for notifications so you can be the first to know about the current market here in Atlanta. My name is Denny. The team and I get calls each and every day from people just like you looking to make the move to Atlanta, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're moving next week, next year, or anytime in between, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, or schedule a Zoom, and we'd be happy to help you make a smooth move to Atlanta. As I mentioned, most people right now, number one, question I get is like, Denny, is the market going to crash? Well, I don't know because I don't have a crystal ball, but I do have some professional opinions and some insights that I'd love to share so that you can make an informed decision for yourself. That's the way I approach all of my content, which is why I always say that you should ring the bell for notifications. So it's not just lip service. I do 2 or 3 videos a week, sometimes more, and there's always a new development. There's always something going on in the world that may affect the outcome, and it is not something that you can just make a decision and kind of set it and forget it, because the market's constantly changing. And so when we talk about the market crashing, what are the factors that could potentially impact the market? Before I answer that, I will give you a very recent example of how I was completely wrong, and so was everyone else that I know. I haven't found one person that got this right. And that is a very obvious example when I tell you, and that's COVID. In February of 2020, people were having the same conversation about rising home prices and inflation and, the overall economy, and whether or not, we were in a bubble and if it was going to crash and all that. And then all of a sudden we have a worldwide pandemic. Now, regardless of how you feel about whether it was a pandemic or not, or whether we made the right decision or not, I'm not here to argue that. Here's what I'm here to say is we shut down the country and we shut down the world. Everyone stayed home for a period of time. We crushed imports in travel, in the service business, and restaurants and small businesses. I mean, the only thing that you could do was order from Amazon or go on Facebook. Everything stopped, and the market freaked out. Real estate kind of stopped for a hot second. The stock market plummeted nearly 40%. 35% at least in the span of 30 to 60 days. I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. Everyone was like, this is the end. Here it goes. Bubble, pow, popped. It's going to crash. And then, as if nothing had ever happened, and all the companies had all the, profits and revenue and customers and business that they'd always had, and everyone had the jobs that they'd always had, and everyone had the income that they'd always had. Everyone was living their best life, and all of a sudden the stock market took off. Real estate market took off. It was as if nobody needed to work or do anything productive in order to have the stock market go up, the real estate market go up, and just support yourself and feed your family and do life as usual. And so it was did you experience it being hard to find a place that was open, or when it did start to open, them even to hire people, but yet the market took off. You fast forward to today, I don't know, are we in any better shape? did the market come, I mean, did the jobs come roaring back? Did the underlying fundamentals get any better? Like, here's what I'm saying is there's this old saying that the market can always remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent. In other words, the problem with all of us normal people like you and me is we make rational decisions. We look at things and go, this is what logically should happen. But the market is irrational. It never does what it should. It always does what the herd is doing. The market does what the masses. If most people think the market is going to go up and they invest, the stock market goes up. If they think it's going to go down and they pull out, the stock market goes down. If people keep buying, it goes up. If people start selling and keep selling, it goes down. Same thing with houses. Demand up, supply down. That's what we have now. Rising home values. If the prices go up and then subsequently demand shrinks, and then there's an economic event where more houses are available and more for sale. So if you have supply going up and demand coming down, when prices come down. And so that's just supply and demand. That's economics 101. And so it's not, is it fundamentally makes sense? Is it logical? Is it rational? What should the market do? Should it go up? Should it go down? Will it go up? Will it go down? That doesn't matter. What matters is what people do and what people believe. And so the problem is that only you know you. Like, there's no crystal ball. But here are the factors you should consider. The stock market did actually peak. The major indices, the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ, the Russell, they all peaked between November and January 4th. They're down about 10 to 20% off of those peaks. Will they come roaring back higher like they did last year? Maybe. Will they continue to bounce lower and go down? I don't know. But the stock market does affect their liquidity, their ability to buy homes and to invest in businesses and to support their families and to support their employees and their confidence in their retirement. So that does make a difference. The stock market makes a difference. So you should keep your eye on that. The real estate market, like we've talked about, inventory is low. There's not a lot of homes for sale. Demand is really high. So with increased demand and low inventory, you're going to have price appreciation. Can that turn around? Well, one of the other things you can consider are rates. Rates have gone from 2.7 to 3.4. And so the more it costs to borrow money, if you're on a budget, the less purchasing power it has. Like $2,000 a month at 2.6% gets you a $500,000 house. At 3.6, it gets you a $458,000 house. So purchasing power and interest rates like that, your ability to buy homes and home values. Because if you can't buy a more valuable home, all the home values come down. So that's something to consider. Is it going to crash? Like, is the world going to fall apart and the stock market's going to crash and interest rates are going to shoot up and real estate market's going to crash and down? Like, what do you call a crash? I mean, is it like 10, 15, 20% pullback, or is it like 30, 40, 50% pullback? Like, I don't know. In the last crash, it was really relaxed lending standards. We were given, money to anybody who could fog a mirror and would sign a piece of paper, and it was no document. You could just stated income. I could say, hey, I make $1 million because I say I do, and I want to buy this, $5 million house, and they would just sell it to you. That's not going on, but that doesn't have to be the only reason. The global Ukraine, Russia, all of the uncertainty around that. Like, if we have an interruption in energy, forget the war, just oil and gas and the energy prices. If those go up at the pump and you're putting more money into your gas tank, there's less money for the household. So you have that. Two countries, at war with each other like this. We've seen, tribal type underdeveloped or undeveloped countries war with each other. And we've seen global, powers get involved in those small undeveloped country tribal type conflicts. But I don't think my generation has seen a developed country, with like the kind of weaponry they have now, go fight another country with equal kind of firepower. And so the thought of that and seeing it play out, like there's uncertainty in that. So that can create, uncertainty always gives people, people freeze up. And so the stock market, interest rates, global uncertainty, supply chain, the fact that, building and labor and supplies and all of that stuff, that's been a challenge. And if that continues to become a challenge, what other shortages are we going to see besides the grocery store and other? And I'm not playing, like doomsday. I'm just giving you like, will it crash? I don't know. But it just as likely could just continue to keep going up. The government is printing money out of thin air like I've never seen it before. Like Japan used to print money and still does, and so does China, like drunken sailors. Like they just literally create demand through shoving money into the system. If you haven't, go watch my interest rate video, and it talks about how the federal government, they set the Fed fund rate, like what they will lend to a bank to. So if they lend a bank money at 5% and a bank puts a little bit of spread, 2 to 3 points in there, depending on your credit worthiness, if they lend at 7 or 8 or 20, then they make the spread. So if the Fed lowers it to 4, 3, 2, 1, that's how we end up borrowing money for homes at like 2 and 3%. And then when they raise it, so that rate and how much infusion they buy bonds on the open market, they do all these things to manipulate the economy to create demand and to create increased supply of money. Supply of money creates demand for things because people can buy them. They used to be pretty conservative with their quantitative easing and how much money they pumped into the system. But the U.S. is off the rails. Like COVID hit and all of our politicians decided that they were going to bury all of us in debt. Like it or not, the more money they print and the more free money they give away, the less power, the less valuable. It's like I talk about houses, increase supply of money, decrease in value for the money that you have. So people that saved money and that have money, that money is worth less because things cost more. A $1 Coke is now $2. A $300,000 house is now $400,000. The dollar you saved yesterday is worth less today because it buys less than it did yesterday. The U.S. government is just printing and printing and printing and printing trillions upon trillions, more in the last 2 years than they have in the previous forever. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean like literally. If I looked it up right now, they've printed so much money, it's insane. So if they keep that up, does the stock market just continue to go up? Does the real estate market continue to go up? Does everything else just continue to go up in price? Well, if that does, you may have wished you owned a house because that increased equity could help fund your life or an investment in something else. And so I guess my no answer is that, is the market going to crash? Well, I gave you a lot to think about. It might not. Here's how you decide, should you buy a house? Well, do you have to buy a house? Are you relocating? Does your job change? Or do you have a remote job and you're fleeing a country? I joke, a state. Ukrainians is not a joke. They are fleeing their own country because they're under attack. But there are some people who, whether you live in California, New York, COVID really made your politicians, they showed their true colors, and they really have some authoritarian, draconian, overbearing regulations as it relates to how you live your life and whether or not your kids can go to school and if you have to wear a mask or if you have to get vaccinated. I'm not taking a stand on any of that. I'm just telling you right now, like I know how I feel and how our family lives, and I would have left any of those markets a long time ago. So this, and by the way, I've lived in New York and Chicago and Santa Monica and LA. So, as well as, Dallas, Fort Worth and Texas. So I've been all over the country, and I know if you're fleeing a more restrictive and burdensome regulatory environment and you're looking for more freedom, this is a place that has it. And so if you have to move here, you have to relocate for a job, or you're looking for a better life for your family, and then we'll help you get the best terms and the best price and the best property you can for the current environment. Without a crystal ball, we can't have what yesterday was, because yesterday is yesterday, and we can't predict what tomorrow is. So we can help you make a decision today and get the best outcome today in the current market. And to soften the blow, if you are going to hold it for at least 3 to 5 years, like if you got to move in a year, like the transaction costs themselves can be burdensome. But overall, markets go up and down. But if you're going to be in it for 3 to 5 years, I mean, if the market, when the market crashed last time, 8, 9, 10, by 11, 12, you're good. So if the market crashes and you plan on being there for 3 to 5 years, you have a little bit of insulation from a timing perspective. If you have to move the next day, it could be a problem. So I don't know if it will or won't, but that's something. Or do you have a decent time horizon, a timeline that you're going to be holding onto it? That would be helpful. And then from there, I think it's like, what kind of lifestyle do you want? The rental market is up more than the purchase market. So if you think you're going to rent and it's going to be a walk in the park, there's less inventory on the rental side than there is on the purchase side. Those rates are up more than prices are up as a percentage, and they're having auctions too. Like if you apply for a rental, let's say you wanted a $3,000 a month rental, there's going to be 50 other people that want it too, and they're going to ask for highest and best. So that's not a walk in the park either. So if you have to move or you want to move because you feel compelled to, well, then it really doesn't matter if the market's going to crash. It's like, how can you get the best situation, set yourself up for success in today's market? And that's what we specialize in and would love to help you do. So if you have questions about this topic or anything else, drop them in the comments below. We appreciate all the comments, all of our viewers. If you haven't, subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you can be the first to know when we release videos and talk about great stuff like this that help you make better decisions, informed decisions, or better decisions. And if you are moving next week, next year, or anytime in between, call, text, email, schedule a Zoom. Happy to help you make a smooth move. And until we see you in person, then we hope to see you on the next episode. Take care.